free Golden Eagles for War Thunder. Download the app in the description below. Hey guys, welcome back to War Thunder, welcome to Kursk, a map I'm actually starting to enjoy. And it's not because I'd want to enjoy it, it's because Folder is in the game rotation, and let's just say that Folder makes every other map look fantastically small for me, and I like that about it. Now Kursk, you know, words aside, it's still an absolute shite of a map in my opinion. It's huge, it has vast areas for useless campers, it is haven for ATGMs, and just overall a horribly designed map. But that's just my opinion, obviously. You know, everybody has opinions, so what's the point? My second opinion is that the tank that I'm driving, the Type 74, is in fact stock. And that might surprise some of you because I'm using Heat FS, I got crew replenishment, I've got artillery strike, and I've got smoke grenades. So how can a tank be stock if I've got all these upgrades? Well, it's not. I'm missing one upgrade. It's just that the upgrade I'm missing is the upgrade that makes this tank playable, or at least semi-competitive in the matchmaker that it faces. The tank in question, for those of you who are not very familiar with the vehicle designations or the camouflage I'm using here, this is the winter camouflage on Japanese tanks. I'm driving the top tier 8.7 Type 74. This tank is amazing. It is. At least it used to be, but then it got up-tiered. And it was up-tiered as it received a new shell, which is great. I think this is a fantastic thing. You know, when you up-tier something and you give it a shell, what you're saying is, this tank is receiving an up-tier because the shell is giving it better performance. Correct. And this whole scheme kind of reminds me of I think, a comment or a post I read somewhere. It was about an idea behind a fixed matchmaker. This theoretical approach that you would have, let's say, 10, 11, 12, maybe 13 tiers. You can adapt these tiers. You would have no battle ratings, and as you progress through the game, you progress by unlocking new vehicles and obviously spading them. When you spade something, it gets up-tiered. When it's stock, it gets down-tiered. And what it means is that, for example, a tier 3 vehicle would be fighting a stock tier 4 vehicle. So when you go into a new tier, you're not immediately confronted by a new matchmaker, you're still playing in the old one, but albeit with a less performing vehicle. And then of course when you spade it, when you get the full performance unlocked, all the shells, all the fire prevention equipment, all the upgrade abilities and engine, then you start to get up-tiered, you get introduced into a new matchmaker, you progress through that tier, you get a new tier, and then the same story repeats. This makes it a lot easier for newcomers to get into the game, it makes it a lot more balanced, and there's none of that up-tiering and down-tiering that occurs, for example, just pure random matchmaker. And at the moment, if you're playing the Type 74, or you want to play it, I'm going to give you a very swift answer: just don't do it. The only single reason to play this would be if you want to spade it, which means you're a completionist like myself. And even in that case, it would still be unadvisable because the stock grind, with the current performance schemes, you're fighting tanks with better reload, better armor, better guns, better penetration values. You see, I can work on a T64 with my Heat FS, I really can, but I just can't do multiple damage. And as soon as he sees me, puts one shot into me, I'm going to be in trouble. Now luckily there, his shell went straight through my tank because I've positioned it in such a way to kind of nullify the damage he's doing. But you can see I'm struggling to attempt to kill him. And the only way that I got to him was by obviously setting him on fire. He died because he didn't have fire prevention equipment. He's in a stock tank. And then my classic instinct took over. I just pushed straight forward, go into albeit a suicide position. I wanted to get taken out so I can respawn a plane. I didn't think that trying to hold a position with Heat FS against two T64s is going to be a good idea, so let's just bail out, get myself into a plane, and figure out how we're going to carry the match from here. This is where I have an important thing to discuss, and it's not the HVAR yet, it's the battle rating of the F-30 Sabre. You see, the Type 74 is 8.7, but the F-30 is 9.0. So, when you're making your lineup, when you want to play the Type 74, you're put in front of a very important question. Do you want to try to play 8.7 only, but have zero close air support, because the only plane you're going to have is maybe the R2Y2 version 3, or are you going to be fully up-tiering it to 9.0 in hopes that you can actually use the F-30 Sabre? But if you don't get to the F-30 Sabre, you've just wasted a 0.3 battle rating change. Now, this might seem like a really, tiny decision to make, but it does bear quite a big importance in the outcome of how you're going to be playing. Now, if you want to go pure 8.7, I would recommend you load up some backups in the Type 74. You're going to have to use the Type 87, the SPA of choice, at 8.0, unfortunately. It is going to be up-tiered, it is going to be one-shot a lot, but it is your best bet at trying to win. For me, I need my close air support. I like the idea of, providing aircraft cover, and I like the idea of being able to fly around in a plane. I think that tanks are an exciting part of the game, but they can also be relatively boring if you're just stuck in a tank driving around, especially on a map like this, where everything you're doing is just going from capture point to capture point, whilst trying not to get shot to shit by an ATGM. Now, HVAR was nerfed. Its penetration was nerfed, its post-penetration was nerfed, even the accuracy of these rockets has been changed. I'm not going to say it was nerfed, I just know that it was changed. Something happened with it because my aim for a long time was all over the place. There's now tanks you just physically can't kill. A T-64, good luck trying to kill that with HVAR. There's only one way, very tricky to do, might show in a video, but an Object 120 and something like the back of the turret of the MBT-70, now that is a different story altogether. And this is what I like about HVAR. I mean, the old meta for HVAR and, RP3s and all the other rockets was just kind of try to find the enemy, shoot at them, and if you hit them, you're going to kill them. Now, it's elevated. It's elevated to a quite nice complexion, which is duels. It's individual duel factors like long-range sniping, SPA, that have just spawned in by hull breaking them just by hitting the lower end of the track. This game mode used to have a combat triangle. Well, a top tier, by the way. Everything I'm talking about here is primarily focused around top tier. In lower tiers, there's still bombs, there's still HVAR, there's still... The meta is a bit different. The meta in top tier at the moment, however, is individual duels. Quite physically, close air support versus SPA. It's a one-on-one engagement, and it's something I've been low-key waiting for months. It's extremely fun to play. I mean, one of the first reasons why I came into Ground RB4 was to do 1v1 fights with aircraft, because, playing air battles in RB it's almost like a clusterfuck. As soon as somebody spots you, realizes you're a YouTuber, that you're flying around, everybody piles up on you. Either the enemy team does, or your friendly team does, and it diffuses the purpose of what a 1v1 engagement is. Now, obviously, you can go play tournaments, you can do custom battles, you can challenge people, but it's so much more fun when you get a 1v1 duel in the middle of this entire game mode. And so that's why I started playing planes a lot, doing these plane 1v1 duels that would happen because there's no spotting system. Planes don't have, a marker. So when you're fighting someone, it's just you and them, and it's kind of like an isolated case. Sometimes a friendly will come in, it happens. Sometimes SPA will interfere, but for the most part, you got this beautiful 1v1 engagement. With SPA, the old meta used to be the triangle, especially in top tier. It was, close air support beats tank beats SPA beats plane, and that kept on going. Obviously, nobody playing SPA kind of, made planes a bit too powerful, but at the moment, it's very, very nice because planes can only really reliably kill SPA, and SPA are designed to kill planes. So there's this very, very balanced matchmaker in place, as long, of course, as you have decent aim, whether it's long-range shooting or whether it's just precise shooting with SPA. And a bit of a tip for you, this was a close quarter engagement on Kursk. If this was in a city, in a place where you have some rocks, a place where you can hide behind a house, those SPA receive a huge boost in performance because you're going to be struggling to locate them. Also, an enemy mix spawning in, it can make things quite grimy as well. And the biggest, of course, change is down to the fact that certain players just don't like to use their 20mm cannons, like the new KPZs and MBTs. If you're driving those things out, being strafed by a plane, use the 20mm. It's a very easy way to get rid of a few targets. And truth be told, that is it for this video. A bit of a short one. I had to throw this out there because I had the footage lying around, and obviously this is still old patch 1.71. Now we have patch 1.73. I'm all the way into the whole grind for the French tech tree. I've also finished the E100 tournament. The results will be coming in the next few days, I believe so we'll figure out if we actually get the E100 and the HE162 respectively. But for the time being, when it comes to this match in particular, I'm going to bail out of my plane. The enemy has just captured the only capture point we even had access to, and this is where the definition of a bad map comes in. It doesn't matter what I spawn, I just wouldn't be able to bring the map back. I don't have enough players, and the enemy is all still in their first spawn, their T-64s, their top tier tanks. And without having my APFS DS shell, without having an adequate ATGM, without having any supremely good performing patch 1.69 close air support, there's just very little that I could have done here. The best I could have tried, maybe spawn the R2-I2, bomb those tanks, then kill them as they respawn SPA or planes, but in general, too little time for too much effort. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Kursk is still shit.